This is the Giraffes Don't Eat Steak podcast, a show that brings you marketing stories, tips, hints, and much more. A treat for those who want to succeed in business or marketers who just want to learn.
Hello, Alex.
Hi, Erica. How are you doing?
I am good. Oh my God, the weather is so awesome here today. So I really am good. How are you?
Nice. Very good. Thank you. Very, very good.
And double excited because I've got my BFF on the call with us today,
Yeah.
Sandy Graham. Hey.
Hello.
Andy.
So Alex, you've met Sandy, right? So,
I
so
have, yes.
This is one of my BFFs that you know.
This is one of the weird things where we actually met people in real life, and now we're doing the online thing. Because normally it's like, yeah, we've met so many times online.
Online.
But
And Sandy has actually cooked us a delicious steak at her house. So we've actually been at Sandy's house. So Sandy, tell our listeners who you are and what you do.
So I am Sandy. I live in Johannesburg, South Africa. In fact, Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. I work in the real estate market. I've been active as a real estate agent for 10 years now. And it's not a position I grew up wanting to do. Nobody wakes up and grows up saying, I want to become an estate agent. I got into it quite by accident and I've enjoyed it. So it's given me the flexibility to be a single mom and to build a good business. So, yeah.
And actually, I was just thinking about this when we met, which is, wow, very, very many years ago. I wasn't even in marketing. You were in marketing and I was in product, right?
Yeah.
How the world has changed. I was, what was I? Product manager for home loans. Was that when we met?
Yep.
I think there's very few people in this world who start off as something, especially go to university to study something and then end up being or working in that profession. I mean, I thought I was going to be a rock star and work in the music industry. Did for a little bit, then worked in insurance.
But then someone heard your voice, Alex, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, they're like, get rid of that guy. But how
so
cool
I think, what was that?
I was just going to say, how cool is it? I just realized that we've got representatives from the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, and the equator today.
We do.
That's pretty cool. I think that's the first time we've had that.
I think it is.
Okay, the only other thing I can really say is in terms of the real estate market, there's no magic bullet. There's no magic. I think I've been very blessed in my years. I'm 56 years old now, but I'm very fortunate to be able to say that I've worked in a marketing capacity. So a lot of the stuff, it's not magic, it's practical. And yeah, I've been able to use some of my experience from all over the place to bring it together into the real estate space.
Absolutely.
Wasn't there one magic bullet that I'm aware of with real estate is to make sure that you're cooking fresh bread in the house that you want to sell?
Yeah, there's vanilla pods, there's slow cookers. We've got all sorts of little tricks, but in reality, you don't sell homes. Homes sell themselves. So you've got to get a couple of things right. But when you walk into the house, you're going to know if it's for you or not. Doesn't matter how hard you sell it. If it doesn't work for the people who are buying the property, it's the way it is.
That's just like the best marketing philosophy ever. It's like don't buy the drill, buy the hole, right? You know?
Yes.
Exactly. And it's the same when I was thinking of that, like of recruiting as well. Like you don't try and sell the business as such. You sell the culture of the business to try and get someone to get interest from a candidate, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's quite a standard in marketing, right? And you've been in two very difficult markets. Insurance, which is not the easiest. I always tell people I sold death, right? I sold life insurance, which is basically telling people you're going to die. So here's something that you'll never use, but other people will use. And now real estate, right? I think most of our listeners or anyone would think real estate is really tough market. So other than the tips you've already shared, let's talk about the start of that journey. If you're trying to sell this property, what is where would you start? What is the key things that you would look at?
So I think in this industry, you've got to start even more upstream than that.
Oh, okay.
Real estate is all about what stock do you have that you can potentially sell. So you've got to take the picture and the commission that you one day going to earn. You've got to rewind or fast forward, whichever way you want to see it, to 180 days from today. So what I do today could have an impact in 180 plus days, if that makes any sense. So there are a couple of things that are critical is where do you find your stock?
Okay.
And that's where, as a person that comes from a marketing background, I've found it fairly easy. I've done training for corporates before where I start off and I ask everybody to look on their phones at how many contacts they actually have on their phone. And it ranges from 700 to 2,000. I have 47,000 contacts on my telephone.
Wow.
What? Jesus.
I'm gonna look.
So that's pretty much the most important thing in this industry is who are you talking to every day and how are you talking to them and what is your objective when you talk to them? So if you don't have data on your phone with people who have opted in, who are you going to talk to find the stock and how are you going to do it? And every single real estate agent, we're self-employed. So the money you spend today, which might or might not be covered with commission, all the effort that you put in today is value that you'll derive in 180 plus days from now. So it starts with lead generation. That's number one.
I'm looking, I've got 723 cents. I've still got a long way to go to catch up to.
I mean, even for me, 700 sounds like quite a lot.
Yeah, so I have lots of data, but I've invested in the process and having come from corporate marketing and direct sales, it's all about the data.
And you like talking to people.
I love talking to people and I also really enjoy data. And I can look at a database of people that I've built on my phone and it becomes quite area specific. You can take your strategy one step further and say, would you speak to somebody who's bought a property 6 months ago? Or would you rather speak to somebody who's been in a property for 15 to 20 years? Who would be more likely to sell? So you can exercise a couple of different layers of strategy. Who do you speak to? What is your message? And what is your value proposition? You know, it's the oldest industry, one of the oldest industries in the world. So for me, I like to do what I like to do. I don't follow a cookie cutter approach. A lot of the big brands would recommend that you follow a specific process. I just feel I like to do what resonates with me. So I source business and I build relationships in a way that resonates for me. That's me, that's my nature. So yeah, everybody, I mean, I used to work with an agent the other day who does her lead generation in an area called Northcliffe. And she walks around the area and she stops people and she talks to them. I would rather die than do that. I've got other ways to do it. So what's nice is 10 different people can approach this in 10 different ways and they all work. But in this industry, the one thing that is important, it's a saying, it's called diligent repetition. So it's not the sexiest, it's not the funnest stuff, but you've got to commit to certain things or certain tasks every single day. And if you can commit to those tasks and take accountability, whether it's an hour or 2 hours every day, you're going to build up your stock. When you've got the stock, you know, the person that holds the stock holds the market. So you want to generate as much stock as you can, but your stock's got to be sellable. It's got to be priced correctly. It's got to be marketed effectively. And yeah, you've got to deliver on the promise.
I mean, I think it's a really, really good point. So I've forgotten the term you said, something diligent, being diligent every day on the same tasks and
Diligent repetition.
diligent repetition. I like that. That's really
I
good.
like it.
And we circle back to this so often in these conversations about strategies and understanding your strategy and sticking to it, and not trying that strategy on a Monday and a Friday and then 2 weeks later and then kind of don't do it for a while and then think, oh, you know what, that didn't work. And I feel like exactly what you're saying there is really a really important point, that you need to just keep doing this. If you believe in it and what you're doing is the right thing, you need to keep doing it over and over and over and over again for it to start paying dividends.
Absolutely. And I think I was chatting to a colleague of mine who was a little bit down because the market's a bit quiet. I don't want this to become a political debate, but when the trade war scenario hit headlines, the whole world just went, everything kind of came to a screeching halt. And I think the markets globally are also like, what's going to happen? And she was saying, you know, San, it's a bit quiet. And I said, but if it's quiet, now is the perfect time to pull out the rag and start polishing the engine. Put better processes together, revisit your marketing action plan. So I love it when it's quiet, because I get to, when it's busy and you're running and you're pushing and it's demanding, there isn't time to really, you have to get into, you're on autopilot. It just gets so busy. So when it is quiet, I love it. I get a chance to dust off the marketing action plan and just to polish the engine, the systems and the process, and to recommit to that diligent repetition. The 3 or the 4 things that I have to do every day to find the stock and to become well known in my area.
It's so interesting because you and I talk marketing and work all the time. I mean, as well as other stuff, but the one thing that has just suddenly become clear with your conversation is, in my head, real estate was about finding the buyers. But what you're saying, it's about finding the sellers. And that didn't even occur to me. I must admit, that's like a new thought process, is finding the sellers and then the buyers will come.
Yeah. Yes. So 80%. So what I've done in my role, and I've been blessed with my experience in the marketing field, is how do I use data? How do I craft conversations? And you were saying earlier, coming from insurance and banking, it's a highly regulated environment.
Yeah.
You've got lots of regulation here that you need to comply with, but it's a lot more open.
Yeah.
You've got a lot more freedom. You're not working within hectic brands and you can't say what you want to say. You also learn the role of law, and conversations need to be in writing. And it's a standard process. You go out, you do evaluation, you go prepared, you build trust. And then it's about, when you get the mandate, it's a contract. What am I going to sell it for? What are you going to pay? What am I going to do? What is the marketing plan? So for me, it's a commitment to every single transaction. What am I going to do to put you first and to sell your house as quickly as I can for the most possible money that I can? So yeah, and the markets go up and the markets come down, and you're always going to have people that want far more for their property than it's actually worth. But I always say the people that decide on the price of a property are actually the buyers. we can discuss as an agent and the seller what we could market the property at, but it's the buyers that decide. They put the offer together. So yeah, going back to your point earlier, it's not about finding the buyers, it's about finding the stock, it's about finding the sellers.
Yeah, it's a really interesting model. I also have to say I agree with Eric. I just didn't even think of that the bit before, but you're right. I guess we were talking about insurance before, so let's talk about life insurance. No one's necessarily looking for life insurance. You have to try and sell it to them, but you can't really tell someone to buy a house. They either want to buy a house or they don't want to buy a house. So they're either in the market or they're out of the market. So I guess, I've never really thought about it, but it makes sense. As
You
long
can't
as
convince someone it's
the,
time to buy a house.
exactly, the demand is already there. So you just need to feed the supply.
Yeah, it's just really different way to look at it. It's blown my mind. So
It's just the reverse lead gen that most people are used to, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And share a story with us, Ans. What's the funniest property you've ever gone to visit? Or come on, give us a story. You must have one.
Oh, you get properties where you walk in and it's just absolutely beautiful. Everything just works. It's in its place. It's been well maintained. Those are such amazing properties. You just walk in and you get that feeling inside like, oh my word, and it just happens. So I had a CRM campaign that went out and I got a response almost immediately saying, how much commission do you charge? Now that's a big fat jump on it quickly. So I responded and I said, could I give you a ring? And I did. And I said, I'll work for whatever you're willing to pay. She said, come and see us. I went to see them the next morning at 10 o'clock, sent them all the information. They sent me a message later that day and said, could you come through tomorrow at 10 o'clock? We want to sign the mandate. Oh, and the next day, took some photographs. It was a difficult one because they wanted quite a bit for a property that didn't have a great location, but they wanted their price. So took 2 offers. Every single property has a story though. So from a valuation on a Wednesday, mandate on a Thursday, photos on a Friday, sale on a Saturday. And for the full asking price. So you do get, and it's a combination of luck and you in the right place at the right time. And that's what real estate is about. If you're not reminding people that you're here to help them, you're not in the market today. Life is great. Kids are growing up, and then next year the kids are finished school or something happens or there's a divorce. There are always going to be people that are selling. But if you're not in there and you don't keep reminding people that you're out there, they forget about you.
Brand building, right? Back to basics.
Yeah, and another marketing gem there. It's like when 2 people are talking about, let's just say, LinkedIn presence. And like, why are you wasting your time like just talking on LinkedIn all the time? It's not a waste of time. Well, no, because people are reading it and I'm top of mind, and when they need something, they'll contact me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must say, this is a really weird industry because it defies everything we know about corporate marketing. All the stuff that you would spend money on from a branding perspective, that stuff, you start to run, your revs are high, you're spending money, it's not working, and you've got to track, you've got to know your numbers. So if you're spending money on 5 things and you're doing 5 things that cost you nothing but get you out there, you've got to track and you've got to know where your leads are coming from.
So where do your leads come from?
I generate my own leads. I promise you, I have tried social media till the cows have come home. Social media has not worked for me. Not at all. LinkedIn worked very well from a recruitment perspective, but I'm not recruiting anymore. I'm looking for leads. So WhatsApp works for me. I mean, I went on WhatsApp works amazingly. There's catalogs, there are statuses. There's just so much good stuff. So WhatsApp has been a very important tool for me. It really has. I've got my own website. I've tried so hard. And that's a difficult animal. It becomes expensive. Your cost per lead is huge. And your conversion's not always hot. It's hard. And we're self-employed, so the money you're spending, it's a tough industry.
Yeah. I mean, you say it's not like the corporate norm, but I mean, just in terms of marketing, you're touching all of the really important points of marketing. And just because it doesn't look like, say, a big corporate marketing strategy, it still has the same philosophy behind it. You know, like finding your strategy that works for you in your particular market and for the customers that you want to contact, sticking to that strategy, creating your ongoing presence, and always being top of mind of your customer. I mean, they're just some of like really basic things you should be doing in marketing, but from one business to another, it looks different, but the theory is the same.
Yeah. So when I think of real estate marketing, and again, obviously I've been getting it wrong all these years in my head. I won't share my age like you did. But for me, I don't know, umbrellas come to mind, like branded stuff, golf days. Have I missed the plot? Obviously I'm not a house seller. Is that why I'm not in the marketing sphere?
Well, I think umbrellas are more practical when you live in the UK than they are in South Africa. Actually, I'd rather do lilos. I'd rather do branded lilos. No, we do the traditional boards on a pavement.
Yeah.
That works. It's really a traditional industry. I mean, I hate putting my brand on a dustbin, but it gives you visibility in the area that you're working. I just cannot put my brand on a dustbin. I just can't. But it's a very well-known, and it's a very responsive medium. So those dustbins on the corners? Yeah. That tends to be, where do you see the real estate branding? I know, it's ridiculous. I don't want to do stuff like
So when you said what I do is not sexy or sensational, you were telling the truth because you're putting your face on a bin.
Yes. And I think, in this industry, you've got to do, for me, I like the stuff that I do. I'm not going to commit, and I'm not going to be accountable to actions that I don't believe work. Yeah. And I've been doing this for 10 years. So dustbin advertising is not something I'm going to spend money on.
I actually had a very similar conversation with a client 2 weeks ago, because they said to me straight, Erica, I'm not going to do LinkedIn. I don't want to be visible. You're never going to get me in a video. Like, so if that's what you're coming to tell me, you may as well go now. So I said, I'll never tell you to do that, right? You should never do something that makes you uncomfortable, because guess what? It's going to be like me signing up for the gym on New Year's Day. How long did that last? Maybe 2 days if I was lucky, right? But it's not my thing. It's not my thing. I'm going to get bored of it, or start hating it, or stop doing it. So very much it's everyone, especially for small business owners like us, right? Like, you must be comfortable with your marketing. If you have a big marketing team that you can force to do stuff you want to do, that's a whole different story, right? Because you're not doing it. And you can make them do all the stuff. But if it's just you and you have to do your marketing, if you stop pushing yourself into places you don't want to be, guess what? You'll stop doing it. It's just human behavior. Yeah. You'll last a couple of days, maybe a week if you're strong, and then it's the end.
It's quite interesting, and I haven't found a place where I could really find the stat, but less than 20% of all the estate agents earn more than 80% of what's in the market. So the top agents consistently do lead gen for at least 2 to 3 hours every day. Okay. So we're getting back to that diligent repetition. Absolutely. If you can work your diary, you've got a time block. It sounds crazy. It's so basic. but your lead generation is the most critical portion of your business. And a lot of agents don't like it. So you trail with like 1,500 or 2,000 names on your phone. And if you're not speaking to people every day, you're just not going to get the stock.
I think it probably, specifically in this industry, it's not a really fun task to be doing, because like what you're saying, it doesn't bear immediate fruit. Like you speak to someone, you'd be calling them or whatever, but you might not get anything. Like you said, it's the work that you do today that's going to benefit in 180 days. And doing those tasks every day can seem like then you're not reaping any rewards. And I guess it's particularly in the beginning as well. And again, that's just going back to having trust in what you're doing and the strategy you have.
Absolutely.
And you know, people buy people. It doesn't matter which brand you work for, but if you go in and you're well prepared and you impart confidence and people can trust you, there's a good chance you're going to get it. People buy people.
Or from
So-
people. Buying people is quite illegal, I think. I think you want to buy from people.
But people, that's what we say in real estate. You know, it's a relational business.
Yeah.
It's a high touch. And honestly, I take what I do so seriously. You're selling somebody's biggest asset. And you know, you're reaching out on the phone, you're trying to build a relationship with somebody enough to earn their trust to sell their biggest asset. I
Yeah.
just feel people settle so quickly for the wrong people.
Yeah.
And how do you really know, you know, how do you judge whether the person that you're going to appoint to sell your biggest asset, are they good or not? So yeah.
You said something earlier that I was interested in. You said someone called you and said, "What's your commission?" And you said, "Let me call you." And it was like, and your answer was something along the lines of, "Whatever you want to sell it for," or something. I can't remember what you said, but is that like, does that buck the trend of your industry? Most people say, "I have a fixed commission that I work with," or you know, do people generally have quite a flexible commission rate across the board?
I think I am very flexible, and I think, you know, post-COVID, you really do speak to people that have hit very hard times. And it becomes very difficult when you are playing extremely close to the line and you're trying to save somebody from a situation where they go into debt when they sell because they just actually can't keep the property. So there are lots of reasons why you can be flexible. The problem is some of the bigger brands, you've actually got to get permission if you drop your commission past a certain point, which I find ludicrous. But yeah, I think the lowest I've ever worked on was 2.5%. I'm not saying that is good for my business. I generally hover between 5 and 6%, which I find is reasonable. There's a lot of work involved, and people don't see it. But I would say most people are flexible, and in the current market, you have to be.
Yeah.
You have to be.
What interested me about that comment was, and immediately what struck me is how you jumped on the buying signal. And I think with both of you, you know, this is one of my biggest bugbears, is when someone has gone to the effort of making you an offer or getting your attention or getting in your emails, whatever they're doing. And then you give the buying signal and they just don't, they either just don't respond. And you're like, I said, what? Or the scenario Alex has heard many, many times is keep running through the script when no, you don't have to keep selling to me. I already said yes. I'm on page 10 of your script. Can you fast forward now? Like, no, we're on page 1. I have to read it through.
In fact, it's part of a formula that comes from Keller Williams. Is if you're spending 3 hours a day doing lead generation, you've got to spend as half of that time doing follow-ups.
Okay.
And yeah, I think for me, it's delivering on the promise. So if I'm making the effort to reach out consistently and to remind you that I'm here, if you do respond, you've got to get back to that person quickly. You know, you set an example of what's you know, what can you expect when we work together? You have to be quick.
I've got
And I
so
like
many examples of that.
I like to share. I like to share information. So you touch the heart before you touch the pocket. I like to share information. I don't like to hold on to stuff. I share. And you can make your own decisions. My job is to advise you. My job is to give you all the information that you need to make a good decision. It's that simple.
Sandy, you have so many marketing gems in the when you speak about your job that are just not said in marketing fluffy terms. So if you understand marketing, you can hear the things that you're saying are just very, very wise marketing pieces of advice, but just not packaged up in 3-letter acronyms and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think the one thing I wanted to say is, as an estate agent, we are our own worst enemies. You're self-employed, you work remotely, it can get lonely. So I think for me, a very important part is how do I stay motivated and how do I stay focused? I have to have a plan. I have to have a plan. And Erica knows me. I have a plan for that plan, for that plan, for that plan. She always tells me I seem to overthink things, which was very good feedback, actually. But I need a plan. And when you have a plan, I would do lead generation. I only work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Those are my 3 hours. I do not do lead gen on a Friday. I just don't want to do it. I don't do it on weekends. But Monday to Thursday, I'm extremely committed. I also like to track my activities. So everything goes into a little book. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the line. I like to track my accountability, and it's got to be visible. It's got to be visible. If I haven't done what I need to do today, I can't get on to the next thing. And if I don't do the lead gen, I've got no follow-ups to do. So, yeah, different industry.
And so what else do you do to combat this loneliness and keep yourself motivated?
I think, and I made some notes here. So my plan and my accountability is my plan. And when the market gets quiet, I actually love it because I get to dust off the marketing action plan and to make revisions. There's always something to do in this industry. So how often do I touch people? I've actually been into your home and I've done a valuation. You weren't ready at the time. Here's some information about what's going on in the market. So go the extra mile, prepare the information and share it. It's the 180-day mindset. So if I don't do what I need to do today, I'm going to feel it in 180 plus days.
Yeah.
So when you can't pay the bills, then you must look at what you did 3 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago.
Absolutely.
I think for me, it's a minimum standard as well. So, you know, quality is extremely important to me. I think it's the hallmark of what I do. Things must be right. Contracts must be correct. So it gets hectic. So it's easy when you start off in the industry to pay a lot of attention to one little thing. Then all of a sudden, when you get very busy and you've got 8 or 9 or 15 transactions, you've got to do everything perfectly, no mistakes, and you're running harder and you're running faster. So you develop a rhythm, and it's all about process and systems. People don't realize this, but you've got systems and you've got processes, and one step has to come before the next. So it's weird, real estate, process, systems, but that's what breaks. That's what makes or that's what breaks. And then track, what keeps me motivated is how am I doing? What is my thermometer, or what are my revs like at the moment? Am I quiet? Am I busy? And I don't find things to do. If the market's quiet and there's nothing to do, I'll paint. I'll do some gardening. I've got the flexibility.
And you love writing?
I love writing. I do my blogs. I love to read. So I like to know what's going on in my areas. I like to know what's going on in Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa, and the world. I like to know what's going on. So I find that gives me the information that I need to be able to blog. I love blogging. So I could, quite frankly, I could wake up and I'm not in the best mood and I can write a blog and I feel good. I feel like
Absolutely.
my day can't start unless my lead generation has been done. It's been quiet. And we've moved and I've kind of also lost focus a little bit and I need to get back to my plan. So yeah, it's just you've got to stay in it. The minute you take your foot off the petrol in this industry, 180 days from now, when you can't pay the bills, then you're going to know why.
Yeah. And, especially young marketers that I mentor or coach, they don't seem to understand that. You should be planning for Christmas in July. You can't wake up on the 1st of December and start planning your Christmas campaign. It's too late already. You've lost the plot, right? How many people miss the big impact of January? January is so good for so many industries because of all that newness, new year, new you, I want to change my life. There's so many industries, not only gyms, but so many industries that can reap value from January. But again, you've got to start planning that in September. You can't wake up, in the last week of December and think, right, what am I doing for my Jan campaign? And so that cycle of 180 days, I think, is really key, no matter what industry you're in, but yes, for real estate, in that you should be reaping the benefits today of your planning 180 days ago, not in constant today cycle, right? And we were talking over Christmas, because Alex and I didn't record, as we were in today's cycle with our podcasts, right? Because we hadn't recorded because we took a break. And now we're ahead of the game again. It feels a bit better. We can breathe,
Yes.
but also makes us more strategic now in our planning. Because before we were almost in desperation mode of, oh no, we need an episode tomorrow. Like, what do we do today? Where now we've got that in the bag. The next 2-3 weeks are in the bag. So we can start lifting our head above. And I think this is true of all marketing. So you can lift your head out of the noise of the today and think forward, which actually makes things clearer, gives you, and we spoke about data, gives you time to look at your data. How are you looking at your data if you're in the running of today, right? There's no time. You need the space to be able to look and say, right, what is the data telling me? So I love that sense. I love that 180-day, that's your plan, is doing today what's going to impact you later.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right, Sans, any last gems you want to share with our audience? Any tips? What about someone who wants to get into real estate? Is it a yes or no from you?
So somebody was saying the other day, a very seasoned agent, he was asked to do a training session to welcome some new young agents into the business. And he started by saying, why did you guys join the industry? And they all said, oh, we want to make money. This is not the industry. If you want to make a lot of money, you're not in the right industry. It's difficult. You've got to join an agency. It often costs money to join. You've got to go through the motions of doing a logbook, which is a portfolio of evidence. You've then got to write your first exams, which gives you full status. So in South Africa, I'm a full status agent. It's the equivalent of a PDE 4. And I'm busy doing my PDE 5 now, which gives me an opportunity to operate my own agency, which is where I'm going now. I've been in the industry long enough to know what needs to be done. So I know what needs to be done. So just leave me alone and let me do my job. I don't need to go into an office. I don't need any of that anymore. I'm able to just head down, bum up, and go. I know what my business needs.
So what are the positives? Why should someone join? What do you love about it?
I love the people. You literally see somebody at their best and you see somebody at their worst in the space of 180 days. And it's quite scary what you do see. It can get really rough. It can get difficult. But you've always got to anticipate what's coming next. So once you become familiar with the process, you know where to push and you know where to stand back and you know when to hang back. But it's an amazing industry. You've got a lot of flexibility. I mean, my car is parked outside. I basically work from home. I work in a team, so I find the stock and then I partner with people who actually sell the properties. I'm one of those rare people that I just work really well with sellers. I work well with a contractual process upfront and then at the end with the offer. So those are my two strengths. The part in the middle with running out to do viewings, I've got people and colleagues that love that part of the job. It's not my favorite part. So again, I've just managed to find in the last 10 years what really works for me. And it's a long process. You've got to find your own stock. You've got to list it. You've got to market it. You've got to do the viewings. You've got to get it over the line. It's an extremely long value chain. And once your sale is made, you kind of pass the baton to an attorney and you lose control. And often stuff goes haywire. 1 out of 10 becomes difficult, but it's a phenomenal industry. So what do I like the most? I like the freedom and the flexibility. I like the ability to do what I want to do. So I put my own recipe together. I track my own results, and it's the relationships I've built.
Fabulous.
So, yeah.
And Sans, if anyone wants to talk to you more about real estate marketing, or even if someone in Randburg hears this and has a property to sell, where can they get hold of you?
They can. I've got a website. It's www.sellwithsandyinrandburg.co.za. Otherwise, yeah, I think that's probably the best place to get hold of me, or my contact number, 083-550-1220. That's it.
With a +27 for anyone
Yes.
who's not in South Africa.
Yes, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Alex, what has been your biggest takeaway today?
Well, there's been many, to be honest, lots of hidden gems in there. But I think I was going to go for this one. I think you have done something that is really cool in terms of identifying your customer and understanding the best way that you can approach them and make yourself visible to them without being distracted by all of the shiny little tools that we have around as social media and other kind of lead generations and silver bullet agencies that are going to help you find all of the leads that you need. You've understood what your customers want. They want a person with a real face. They want an organic form of being contacted, and you're doing it, and you're doing what works for you and your customers. And I think that's really, really important.
Love that. Love that. Well, Sans, Alex, it's been absolutely awesome chatting to you both.
Thank you.
Love talking to you always. And you, Alex. Actually, this is like a really cool room for me. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and I will see you all again soon.
Thank you, Erica. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Erica.
Cheers, eh?
Bye.
Bye.
That wraps up this episode of Giraffes Don't Eat Steak. Thanks for joining us. I hope you found value in our discussion and got some new ideas to apply to your own business. Tune in next week for another round of marketing insights and inspiration. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you listening. Catch you next time on Giraffes Don't Eat Steak.